Hi guys, welcome to Design Strong, and in this video today we are going to cover the load balancer in its fullest. Let's call this as the load balancer 101 just to understand how well we can do when it comes to load balancer for system design. System design is one of the most important concepts of software engineering. When we started with our architecture decisions, it was really hard for me to understand how do you design a system. And the one basic problem that I had was the terminologies that we use in system design courses, and those are really hard to understand for people who are just starting. This video examines an important topic of system design, the load balancer. You may know about its characteristics and techniques of server selection here. We will help you to get familiar with the basic concepts and terminologies of system design, especially the load balancer. So let's get started. So what is a load balancer? A load balancer is a vital component of any system, and especially the distributed system. It helps us to distribute the client requests within a cluster of server to improve the responsiveness and availability of applications or websites. If we talk about the official definition, as per Wikipedia, load balancing refers to the process of distributing a set of tasks over a different set of resources. For example, if one server cannot serve a lot of requests at the same time, we need a load balancer. Its primary purpose is to optimize the response time for each task. Now let's assume a system that has one server that's overloaded with requests. The server has a limitation in terms of how many requests that it can serve per second. So we need to add more resources or more servers to handle large amount of requests. But we may need to have a load balancer to balance the load between these systems. So what is a load balancer? Load balancer is basically a server that usually sits between, let's say, the client and a set of servers and distributes client requests to these servers. Load balancers can be placed in various places of a system. The load on the server needs to be distributed in a balanced way. That's why we call them as load balancers. So this is a typical example that we were talking about. There were users, they were sending requests, and there were a set of servers which are able to respond to these. Now load balancer acts as an interface, so it will take requests from the users, and this load balancer will be responsible to identify which of the servers should be serving to this request. So we may say that load balancing is the process of distributing client requests across multiple resources. If a server is not available to deal with new requests or is not responding, load balancer will stop sending requests to such servers. As we already know, the load balancer prevents servers overload as well. Another essential task that a load balancer performs is to carry out continuous health check to ensure that servers are able to handle the requests. It ensures that we are utilizing the resources for the system in a better way by balancing the requests which are coming. In system design, horizontal scaling is a common strategy. This helps us to scale our systems to handle a large number of requests, and load balancer is the solutioning for horizontal scaling. Through balancing the incoming requests of a system, the load balancer prevents the server from becoming overloaded. It also ensures better overall throughput of the system. Latencies should occur less often as requests are not blocked, and users do not need to wait for their requests to be processed. Load balancers can be of two types. One is a hardware load balancer and another one is a software load balancer. We will be focusing on software load balancers because hardware load balancers are outdated these days, because when it comes to cloud, which is the way forward to host large scale systems, then it is often software load balancers that we use. And the first question that comes to mind is, where do we use a load balancer? Typically, we can put a load balancer between the client and the server to handle incoming requests. Another very normal use case for a load balancer is to distribute the network traffic across backend server. A load balancer is used to reduce individual server load, and it prevents a single point of failure for any server. So it improves overall availability and responsiveness of the system. We can add load balancers at various places in the system, especially when there are multiple resources like servers or database or cache, which would mean that it's not just between the client and server. It can also be added before a database or even a set of servers. The next question is, why do we use load balancing? So for any system design components, it's paramount that we know when and why we are using a component. Load balancing is a vital component in case of availability and overall throughput of the system. Let's take some examples to understand why we need a load balancer and its usage. The first example is when we design a system. One of the primary concern is to create faster user experience and uninterrupted service. So user requests should not wait for a single server which has not finished for its previous task. In this case, client requests are immediately distributed to a responsive available server. That's when we need to use a load balancer, which is to balance out the task between multiple resources. What we have seen here is the example of such scenario. Next is availability. So availability is a key characteristic of a distributed system. In case of a full server failure scenario, this won't affect the user experience, as the load balancer simply sends the request to one of the servers which is healthy at current moment. We can also use predictive analytics in the load balancer to determine traffic bottlenecks before actually they happen. It can also help us making business decisions in a better way. Instead of a single resource performing a lot of work, load balancing ensures that several devices perform a bearable amount of work and the system becomes consistent. Another task of a load balancer is to defend the system from attacks such as distributed denial of service, which is nothing but DDoS attacks. So software load balancers can provide efficient and cost-effective protection from DDoS attacks as well, or like just denial of service attacks as well. The next question that comes in mind is the server selection. We know a load balancer chooses a backend server out of multiple servers, but how does it choose that server? There are two factors behind this. First is load balancer need to ensure that whatever is the server that let's say it's choose is responsive, meaning that it is in healthy state. Second, load balancer uses pre-configured algorithms to select one of the servers. So it is in our hand to ensure what is the algorithm that we use for server selection. Let's look at health check first. So what happens in case of health check is the load balancer server continuously is in touch with all the servers, and after stipulated duration, it follows the heartbeat mechanism. Heartbeat mechanism means it will send a request for health check to server, and server will respond back with the request informing him that okay, if the server is doing fine or not. So for example, here is a health check and server request, okay, I am alive. Server 2 also does the same. Load balancer sends the health check request to server 3 and it is not able to respond. In this case, the load balancer assumes that this server 3 is not functioning properly, hence no more requests will be sent to these servers. So this is how health checks happens in the load balancer in an ideal way. Next is load balancing techniques. So load balancing techniques means the various type of load balancing methods or algorithms. Every type uses different algorithms, and the purpose that they solve to are also different. These techniques uses different strategies for server selection, and some of the common techniques are: first is random selection. So in random selection, what happens is load balancer randomly selects one of the servers and sends the request to it. This, while is the easiest way to implement, but then there are problems which can be associated, because if let's say there is a server which gets overloaded due to random selection, sending all the requests, or let's say majority of the requests to a single server, in that case that becomes a bottleneck, which means that other servers might be idle, but this might be doing a lot of work. The next technique is round robin. This is most common technique for load balancing, and it is a method in which requests are sent one to server 1, server 2, server 3, and until n servers that we have, and then the next request will again go to server 1. So what happens is, let's say, consider this scenario. If there are 5 requests which are coming, request 1 reaches first, so it will go to server 1, then request 2 comes, then it will go to server 2, then request 3 comes, it goes to server 3, then 4th request comes, then it again goes to server 1, then 5th comes, then it again goes to server 2. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. The problem again here is that if let's say in this scenario, request 3 was completed in 1 second and request 1 was taking let's say 4 seconds. So after 1 second, server 3 is free, but still the request 4 will go to server 1 only. Due to this, there can be a situation where the balance is somehow not available in the system. Hence, there was another technique that came in, which is the weighted round robin method. This is an updated version from the previously discussed round robin method. It's a bit complex than the previous one, but this method is designed to handle servers with different characteristics, which was a problem in round robin. So what we really do is we assign a weight to these servers. So for example, let's say we might be aware that server 1 is running on X memory, server 2 is on 2X memory, and server 3 is again on X. So we know that server 2 has 2X memory. So what we can do is we can assign a weight in some ratio. So example, let's say if this has X weight, this has 2X and this has X. So the requests which are coming in will be divided in the same ratio, which is 1:2:1. So this is called weighted round robin technique, in which the number of requests are divided on the basis of a weight which we associate with each server. The next common technique that we use is a least connection. So in least connection, the load balancer sends traffic to the server with fewest active number of connections at that time when the client request was received. If the server was busy in long computations, the connection between client and server stay alive for a large period of time, and this is where this approach is really helpful. The next technique is least responsive time. So this algorithm sends client's request to the server with least active connections and lowest response time. The backend server which will respond to the request fastest will receive the next request. And the next one is source IP hashing. In this method, what happens is we create a hash from the client's IP which we receive on the load balancer, and this is used to determine who will be the server who's going to receive this request. It can maximize our cache hit, and it can improve the performance. So for example, if let's say there are 5 requests which are coming, so what we will do here is, let's say these IPs are ending with 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we will create a hash and then decide it will go to server 1, server 2 or server 3. The advantage here is that one request will always go to same server, so we can also maintain sessions with this approach. And let's look at the conclusion that we have. So conclusion for the overall discussion that we had for load balancer 101 here is, the load balancer's task is actually to improve and distribute on incoming traffic across multiple backend servers. Load balancer decreases wait time for users when we are scaling a system. In the case of horizontal scaling, it is a crucial component. The more servers we add or remove, having a load balancer definitely helps us in maintaining the change. When a new server is added or a new server is removed, the load balancer needs to be updated. Otherwise, there can be resources which might be wasted or not handled in a balanced way. Hence, while you design the system next time, we need to choose the best server selection strategy as needed by your system. I hope you like this load balancing 101 discussion that we had today. In case if you did, do not forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are trying to do some good work here in terms of helping people understand what is system design for large scale systems. Thanks for watching, and say design strong.